Everybody was NerdFu listening. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That podcast is hot as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening, but they spoke with expert timing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 60 of the Secondary Heroes podcast. This is our ReFUnion. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
Hey guys, it's Prague.
Happy Easter, everyone. This is DeLorean Wolfgang. And this is a very special episode for me, at least, because tonight's guest comes from the first podcast I ever listened to. Tonight, we have the boys of NerdFu. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
What's up, everybody? This is a darker shade of NerdFu. Scuba Steve coming at you.
And this is the other guy, Sully.
Awesome.
Hey guys. Well, welcome to the show, guys. It's actually great to have you guys on because it's been a while since we've heard from both of you. This is really special, I think, for a lot of people who are listening that I know had listened to you guys and now listen to us. So thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having us, for sure.
So for those of us at home who are listening right now that maybe are not familiar with you guys, tell us a little about yourself and how you guys got started.
Oh,
Sir.
All right. I love telling this story.
Nice.
Sully and I used to work together back in the day, which was a Wednesday, I believe, and here in Houston. Long story short, wanted to go to Comic-Con. Asked him if he wanted to go, so I didn't have to ride solo. Neither one of us had been before. We went. Jaws were on the floor. We had a fantastic time. Tickets were easy to get at that point. It's not like that anymore. Yeah. And so on Sunday, we were at Ten Fish eating lunch. And I told him that, we like the same thing. We're all into same movies for the most part, collectibles, comics, all that good stuff, video games. And I told him, I said, we should do a podcast. Who cares if anybody else listens? And I hadn't done one. He hadn't done one. Sully was interested, but I still think that he was a little on the fence at that point.
Oh.
He's not the shy guy we all know now, for sure.
Wow.
So I went home as soon as we got back to Houston. I went home and started crafting some notes because I had barely started listening to podcasts myself, listening to Nerdist podcasts and some others, Aisha Tyler and whatnot, and just kind of pulled some ideas together, got an outline thrown together with categories of pretty much what you know now is the NerdFu website and our kind of outline the way we did the show. Showed it to him, emailed it to him rather, and he had some notes of his. We combined, we found the music, we thought of the name, all the lines joined together, and when we formed, it was NerdFu. When we launched on a very interesting day, which we didn't even really plan for. It was April Fool's Day.
Happily done. Nice.
Yeah, and kind of the rest is history. It was it was kind of love at first sight.
It's funny.
Instantly fell in love with podcasting.
It's funny that you say we don't care who's going to listen and who's not going to listen because, I mean, you guys have 25,000 followers over on Twitter. You've done over 238 episodes. So, I mean, it's awesome stuff, and it's awesome to, maybe this could be a little resurgence. Who knows? But, I've got my fingers crossed.
Well, people did listen. So
yeah, we had so much fun. And nothing has gone away. It's just, kind of life happens and stuff like that. But, Sully and I still friends, still talk, still communicate. And it's fun to bounce ideas off of each other. Every once in a while, something will come up and we'll send texts back and forth. And, who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely still great to see through you guys' tweets too, with all the upcoming pop culture stuff that's happening. Keeping your listeners up to date with what's going on in the world. So that's kind of fun. But I was always interested in who designed and came up with the logo idea for you guys. It's very iconic.
Actually, I'll jump in from the other side of that conversation. That Steve told the story perfectly. I was definitely reluctant. I did not want a podcast. I had only listened to a few ever. And I was like, dude, I hate the sound of my voice. Like, I don't want to do that. But if you really want to, and we can also make it a business that's more than just the podcast, I'd be down, because I really wanted to own something that might be generating some revenue, and we didn't know where the podcasting would go. So exactly like you said, we finally decided to do it. And I haven't listened to those first 2 or 3 in a very long time. God bless you, Jedi, if you're listening, for doing that.
Thanks, Jedi.
I just remember us sitting around the Mac that was crashing on us, trying to get the snowball settings right. The mic's doing weird non-syncing things and picking up background noise. And like, I was just, after those first 3 or 4, I'm like, I love doing the podcasting, but this tech side is ticking me off to no end. And guess what? Fast forward 7 years, I'm still getting ticked off by the tech regularly. But as Steve mentioned, I have definitely come out of my shell when it comes to podcasting, and I absolutely love it. Thanks to a site called Podchaser, where you can basically track it's like the IMDb of podcasting. I've now done over 400 episodes of different podcasts, and I can't believe that mark is a thing. That's insane to me. Going back to that conversation we had at Tin Fish when you mentioned that, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
And here podcasting wizardry you speak of.
Steve probably remembers better than I do on the logo because he has a better memory, always has. But we were pitching back and forth ideas on names, and I can't even remember what some of the other ones we had out there were. There's some notes somewhere of all that. But we finally, one of us, was it you or me? Do you remember who mentioned Kung Fu?
I think that was joint. That was a joint endeavor right there. Yeah,
kind of stumbled into it.
And then you had the idea to clone the guy and make one dark and one light, kind of like Good and Evil.
Yeah, it's a real subtle difference. But if you pay attention to the logo, I think Steve's character's up in the front, and he's the slightly darker tan, and I'm the almost clear guy in the back. And we put that together, and I told Steve from the beginning, I was like, man, we have to come up with a backup logo because I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to get sued for this. But whatever. And then finally, one day, reluctantly, I did the research to find out that Kung Fu had slipped into public domain.
Perfect.
Oh,
so
sorry, Konami.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like Kismet. I love it.
So we were safe. But in those early days, we debated, like I had used some other sites to create logos and stuff. Yep. But you have to spend hundreds of dollars to get a good quality logo. And I knew a little bit about Illustrator. So one weekend, I just sat down and I literally took a pencil and sketched out all those squares that make up the guys. Because I wanted to get a better feel for what it would look like as a grid. And then I got into Illustrator, and I spent, probably like 8 hours working on that thing at first and going to Steve and going, hey, what do we think about this? And like the original Kung Fu font was the same in our first version. And then he found that really cool font that's on the hat he's wearing now. And Drunken Monkey, I think it's called.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, when you found that, I'm like, oh, that just really pulls it all together, and it's such a cool font. So that it was a collaboration on that as well. And then we've done different versions over the years with either solid white that we could put on shirts and things, or we would vary up the background depending on the con we were going to. Or my favorite is SDCC, where the guys are kicking and part of the logo is getting knocked out of the side from SDCC. So that was a lot of fun to do over the years, and something I still love to tinker in Illustrator to this day with anything I'm working on. I think it's just a blast.
Wow, 8 hours to create that logo. Prog and Trevor, I think we did it right by hiring Julie.
Yeah, we had a professional. She did it for us. It was great.
Totally.
Well, and you guys keep mentioning SDCC. I mean, obviously that's very special for pretty much all of us and most of our listeners as well. Yeah, Prog's even wearing the sweater right now. You guys have had some pretty big moments happen to you at SDCC. Can you go over just a couple of them? I know I can rattle a couple off for you guys, but I'd rather
hear from you, right?
But obviously, I'm a big fan. So this is cool for me.
Go ahead, so.
You sure?
Yeah. You're talking just when we were going, right?
Yeah. When you guys were going as NerdFu.
Okay.
I know. I'll leave one name to you because you'll say it and she'll appear behind you. That's how that works.
Yeah, she will.
I think some of my favorite moments were going to the old Nerd HQ back in the day when Zachary Levi was running the offsite thing. Our first year when we went as fans before we formed NerdFu, we went to that offsite bar that was 5 blocks from the convention center. Yep. It was a smaller venue. Between you and I, we finished off a whole bottle of vodka in one night, which kids don't do that, but we did it. And we were hanging out with people we hadn't met before. And at that party, there was Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion and Zachary Levi and rumors of other people. And we were, like you said, jaws dropped. We were looking all over the place. We knew we were surrounded by all this. We didn't know what to make of it. We drank way too much, stayed up too late. And then we learned about Hall H and didn't spend any time in the room after that. We spent all of our time in line for Hall H, like the entire weekend, and don't regret any of it. We made some great line friends that we talk to on Twitter to this day that I still meet at SDCC almost yearly when they'll come by the booth. Nice. So that one's one of my favorite memories. But then my other has to be, for sure, Zachary Levi. We were hanging outside of a party that we had got invited to one year because I actually won a giveaway.
Oh yeah.
And then we ended up on the list because I would contact the same guy every year and go, hey, y'all still throwing that party? It always had celebrities. We want to be there. And he'd be like, sure, I'll put your name on the list. We got there too late one year after going to Tony's party for
Hero Within.
Yeah, but that was when he was first debuting it.
Crazy
Before that,
Comic-Con.
Crazy for Comic-Con. That's
Crazy
his
for Comic-Con,
website.
Yeah.
And we left there too late, and we went over to the party where Zach was at, and we couldn't even get in. We were stuck in the line. They said it's basically capped. There's no room. It's not going to happen. And I look down. I'm watching the door, and sure enough, Zach Levi pops his head out about, 30, 40 feet away. And instead of getting out of line that we knew was fruitless, I'd go, hey, Zach. And he looks, and he walks to us. Like, nice. We're nobodies. We've met him before, but he doesn't remember. It doesn't matter. He's that nice of a guy. He walks over, and we talk for a hot second, and we can tell that Zach has been having a real good time, as you do at SDCC. And hey, Zach, can we do a photo together? Absolutely, he says, because he's that kind of guy. I don't know why. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. I take my phone, and I hand it to Zach like he's in charge of the photo. This guy can do everything right. Clearly, he can take a good photo. He hands it off to the girl he's with, and she goes to take the photo. And we get in position, and we're smiling, and I'm just thinking, don't look like an idiot in the photo. Try to suck the gut in. Try to look good. We get the photo, and then I go to reach out to take the phone from the girl who took the photo, and as she drops it down, I realize who's taking the photo. It's Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck taking the photo. And I'm like,
did you not notice that at all?
I didn't notice who I just assumed hot blonde. It's Zach Levi. I'm sure whatever he's doing, he's doing it right. I'm like, I couldn't get words out. I couldn't say her name. I couldn't say hi. As they walk off, I finally form words again. I'm like, I love you. Could you come back and take our photo again? I want a photo with you now. It was too late.
Oh my God.
That's a great story.
That was one of my favorite moments.
The party, the location he's talking about. What was it? The year before that, I think, when we went up there. So we're on the rooftop, and it's like a Star Wars party, basically. And Sully had won the giveaway, so we're up there, kind of checking everybody out, seeing, getting the lay of the land. And Seth Green is walking around, and I love Seth Green. So Sully has his DSLR just kind of hanging around his neck. He's over there playing with it, and the camera. And we walk up close to Seth Green, and he was with I believe it's his girlfriend or whatever. They were talking with some other people. So I was waiting for a break, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna try to go get a photo with Seth if he's cool with it." Seth was real nice, so I walked up to Seth. I was like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Steve." He's like, "Hey, nice to meet you." Would you mind if I take a quick photo of us? He goes, "No, not at all." So I looked over. I said, "Let me get my photographer." So I look over at Sully, and he's looking at me, and he heard the conversation, and I see the look in his eye, yeah, I'm sure he's going to say something later. I was like, "Hey, Sully, can you come take this photo?" So he for some reason, I think the camera gave him a split second of trouble or something like that. So I'm there with Seth. I had to hunch down a little bit, and I got my arm around him. He's got the arm, and we're just smiling. He takes the photo. I was like, "Okay, cool." Comes back. Sully's like, "That's the last time you call me your photographer."
He said it, and I was like, "What is happening right now?"
It's a great photo, though. I love that photo.
Let me get my photographer.
He threw me under the bus and was laughing about it. I loved it. It was great.
I think another really cool memory I gotta say is we were invited Sully couldn't do it because he had to work, unfortunately, but we were invited to be on a panel hosted by Tony, and it was about making your fandom into a business. And I was on there with some other panelists, including Tony, and being on a panel at Comic-Con was awesome. My name got misspelled wrong on the card, but I still have it. Doesn't matter. Still says my name. And I thought that was really cool, though. That was something that NerdFu had already, evolved and taken shape and stuff like that. This is years, and Sully's with his new company and everything. But it was interesting because before the panel got started, we had a couple of minutes, me and the other panelist, and being in the room was actually pretty full. So being in that room on stage, it was so surreal. It was something that I'll never forget. If it doesn't happen again, that's fine. But it was a memory that I'll always remember.
What's funny about that is I was scrolling through some old photos the other day, and I ran across the photo that you took with Tony and the other panelists for that panel. Mm-hmm. And one of them is Anna Mia, the cosplayer, who I've gotten to know now through my new job. Nice. She's a sweetheart and absolutely gorgeous. So any chance I get to talk to her, I definitely do. But our paths could have crossed even earlier. I had that panel worked out, but that was my first year at Funko, and I couldn't leave the booth at all. Yeah. So Steve got to do a SDCC panel before I did, that's awesome that you got to do that, man.
It was pretty cool.
This is great for me because I can just sit back right now and just I feel like I'm a part of an actual NerdFu episode. So this is wonderful. You guys can just talk the rest of the time.
It's like Inception.
Right.
But like one of the memories that if it wasn't for you guys, I don't think San Diego Comic-Con would have meant as much to me either, because I started listening to you guys. I mean, I was always like a Back to the Future fan and stuff like that, and through and I never really thought of Back to the Future and Comic-Con being all in one type of thing, and then listening to you guys and then showing up at places like Corgi's Party. Corgi's Party is where I finally got to really actually meet you guys face to face, and I brought the car out and stuff like that, and it was like, I don't know, it was just really cool seeing how people interacted with you guys, people interacted with through the whole Comic-Con everything. I don't know, it's so fascinating to me, and I love being a part of it now. Yeah, it's a great community. I was going somewhere with that, but I don't remember where it was going. Anyways,
fangirling. It's okay.
One thing that I do remember is you guys actually had a shirt given away at Comic-Con with your logo on it by who was it again? Was it Nathan Fillion?
Oh, yeah, that story. That was another one of my favorites.
That was something that always stuck in my head because there's a great photo of him on stage holding a NerdFu shirt up, and I'm like, how is that happening? That is incredible.
Oh, Nathan. Yeah, he's an old friend of the show.
Oh, Nate dog.
I mean, I feel like Sully might have dated him for a little while, the way that he talks about him.
I would. Yeah, absolutely.
Is it wrong?
Marry that man. He's
freshman day.
No, you want me to tell that story? I can tell you a little bit. Because I saw Prog's look on his face there. Yeah, we went to Dallas Fan Expo 2 or 3 years before that SDCC, probably 2. And we went up to the booth, and Steve was always more bold than I was about interacting with celebrities and other people. And he's like, hey, give him a shirt. Give him a shirt. I'm like, I doesn't want a NerdFu shirt. It was a bright orange shirt like this mic. And Steve just kept pushing, but in a good way. And I'm like, all right, fine. So we go through the line. We give him the shirt. He does what Nathan Fillion always does. Super appreciative. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Turns, puts it on a stack. That's going to be the end of it, right? No. 2 years later, we're at Nerd HQ. Again, this comes up. Had gotten tickets to the Supernatural panel, finally, after trying for years, waiting outside the room. I swear to you, not 15 feet from the doors to the room where this happened. And I start getting texts from Pablo and a couple of our other friends who are watching live on IGN where this is being streamed. And they're like, your shirt, Nathan just auctioned off your shirt. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Nate Fillion? Like, what is it? I still didn't understand. Finally, we get the story. And the next day, we were back in the room. I think it was the Sunday when we're getting packed up and getting everything organized to leave. And we're waiting on IGN to publish it to YouTube. it shows up. So we watch it. We're in the room, and I couldn't believe this. Nathan Fillion always brings a bag of stuff, and he does one auction where he'll take it out, show it to the audience, sign whatever it is, and then auction it off, and the money goes to charity. So he's not wasting the stuff that fans send him, and he's making a memorable, cool experience for everybody. And I had been to one of those before where I almost bought a Pebble watch that he autographed. But anyway, so we go to that one, or we're watching that video. He reaches down, and he takes the shirt out, and we're already like, oh my God, we already got such good exposure. He's like, oh, look, a NerdFu shirt. Why am I getting rid of this? I love this. A NerdFu shirt. He says like 5 times.
Oh my God.
In like a minute and a half, he autographs it. He sells it for, I think it was $200.
Meanwhile, Twitter is blowing up. No, I'm just kidding.
If only. And then he auctioned it off. He said NerdFu again. He gave it to the fan. He went on to the rest of his stuff. We're freaking out. Like, that's such a cool thing that, of course, one of my favorite people in the world would do that for us, unknowing what he was even doing, you know? And we shared not only the video, and we made a GIF and the photos of him holding the shirt, and tried to get his attention online. We couldn't. I even offered I would buy that shirt from whoever had it. Oh. I forget if I put a number to it. And to this day, I would still buy that shirt for easily $500 if somebody had it and wanted to sell it. But
let's get on Twitter, man. All you got to do is hop on Twitter. Someone's sitting on it.
Yeah, someone's sitting on it.
They probably are. But that was such a cool experience.
You should make a podcast called NerdFillion and have it just be about him.
That's not bad.
Like a spin-off.
Get into that.
Yeah.
That's another prog pun for you.
Don't put it on Fox.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what has happened since you guys have gone off the air, because a lot has happened in the pop culture kind of landscape. Since then, we've had the big Marvel Infinity Saga era came to an end, which was really like a big part of pop culture for like a decade. What were you guys' thoughts on that? Do you think they ended on a high note? Was that kind of a big deal for you? Do you like where they're going?
Oh man, I'm a huge Marvel fan. So watching all that and screaming, at the top of my lungs in the theater, I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it. I think it ended properly, with Endgame and everything that happened. It's the passing of the torch. It's kind of inevitable, like Thanos thought he was. And so, yeah, I'm excited for what's to come. I'm excited to see the new properties. Unfortunately, the last time we were at SDCC, when they did all the unveilings of the next phase coming out, we weren't there, but I was watching everything afterwards. And especially at the very end, the Blade announcement was awesome. I'm a big fan of Blade.
Right? That was surprising. Yeah.
Super happy about that. But I think all in all, it ended properly, and can't wait to see what's next for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely know it's going to be interesting because of the whole quarantine putting stuff on hold. So we really have a long time to wait until all these shows and movies come out, unfortunately.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Steve said. Just it's so hard to imagine that the 23, 24 films, whatever it ended up being, all happened just a little over a decade and changed the entire landscape for the pop culture nerd community and film forever for the better, I think. But just what they pulled off. I just watched Endgame again the other day, and I can't watch that without crying. A different scene gets me at a different point almost every time. And every time that Happy asks Tony's daughter about the cheeseburgers, I just freaking lose it, man.
She just kept saying okay over and over again. Kills me.
I'm getting the chicken skin just talking about it.
Chills, man. Yeah, it
was
a great way to wrap it up.
Oh, nice.
Sentimental. No, I liked it a lot. It was a lot of great stuff. So the Blade is something that I'm interested in seeing too. I think that's kind of an exciting announcement. Is there any particular show or movie you're actually looking forward to other than that? Either one of you coming out from Marvel?
Specifically from Marvel?
Yeah, just like what they've announced so far, at least.
I'm excited about Black Widow. I'm definitely excited yet hesitant about the new Blade because to me, I really wanted to see Wesley Snipes return to that role. I love Mahershala Ali. I think he's a great actor. I'm anxious to see what he does with it. I really hope they bring Wesley in some way to hand that torch off or at least nod to what he did, because that was one of the only successful comic book franchises before Iron Man finally hit and the MCU became what it is today. I mean, Spider-Man and Blade were like the two biggest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to see those finally coming into the fold of MCU is amazing. So I'm anxious to see what they do with that. But Black Widow, for sure, I'm anxious to see that.
Speaking of Black Widow, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I just saw on Twitter that there was an alternate way of Black Widow taking. I don't know how to say this delicately, but
dying, pretty much.
From Endgame. Spoiler alert, if you didn't know. But I actually thought the one that I saw on Twitter was way better than what they put on the movie. I'm like, why didn't they go with that version? I didn't understand. I don't know. To me, that felt more meaningful than what they went with, where instead of them fighting with each other, they were fighting an enemy. I don't know. Maybe that's the normie in me, though.
Did you see it yet, Steve?
I did not.
Yeah, you should look that up. I don't know that it's better, but I do like that we got to see a fully fleshed out version, an alternate version, which is rare in films other than maybe an alternate ending or something. That was cool that they shared that.
Interesting.
I don't know. I kind of like the way it was originally because they really were fighting to who was going to allow themselves to sacrifice themselves. And they're like, why each person has their reason. I thought that was more emotional than the one that was deleted. But no, it was at least interesting to see the alternate cut. That's for sure.
Right. Well, I think, and maybe for me, because those are the two most least interesting characters of the whole saga.
True.
I wanted to see them maybe go out in blaze of glory rather than, oh, no, let me kill myself first.
Right. I gotcha.
Wow, you sounded just like that.
Spot on, sir.
All right.
Just like Scarlett.
Yeah.
I got to smoke about a pack of cigarettes a day to sound like her.
Are you making fun of her bedroom voice? Come on.
Let's get back to this.
Something else I'm looking forward to is, and if it happens, the Fantastic Four coming back under the banner, and the talk about mutants, especially like Kevin Feige hinted at Hall H, and that opens up a lot of doors.
I saw something today actually that I don't know who said it, but they basically someone from Marvel hinted at the fact that we're going to see Wolverine a lot sooner than we thought we would.
Yep.
I still want to know who that's going to be. I have theories that we've talked going way back in the NerdFu days of who that might be, but I can't wait to see who they cast.
Who would you want?
Loved the idea of like Zac Efron or something, but he might be too tall. I think Zac Efron would be a really cool Wolverine.
Zac Efron's like 5.
He's a little guy?
I
thought he was taller.
Yeah, he's like 3'4", 3'6".
I did not really. 3'6".
Okay. Give or take. He's an Oompa Loompa, according to Steve.
That would be interesting.
What does that make me? Hold on.
Oh, dude. Ugh. You're like Benjamin Button. You're just getting shorter and shorter, brother.
I like him in the role. I think it would be great. But my new favorite is Jared Keeso, the lead guy from Letterkenny who plays Wayne. I think he would be a perfect Wolverine. And he's Canadian, so come on.
All right. Yeah, it would be nice to have a real Canadian play the Canadian. Sure.
All right.
Makes sense. I like that. So moving on from that, though, is there anything you're doing nowadays that's different? Like I know there's a lot more streaming services than ever before. You have like Disney Plus since the last time you guys were talking on NerdFu, as well as Apple Plus and stuff like that. And I think now that it's going to be tougher for these movie theaters to stay open, we might be seeing more stuff streaming from home. Like, what are you guys using right now? Are you guys excited about Disney Plus at all or anything like that?
I love Disney Plus. I mean, you've got, of course, Mandalorian, but not just that, like Tron and all that, and all the classics. All the animated catalog that they have is great. I'm not saying we use it every day, but it's something that's pretty much on the Xbox homepage as one of my pins. So ready to be fired up at any time. We use pretty much all the other ones as well. HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. I got to give it up to Amazon Prime lately. Their offerings. I like going back and watching. I can watch old movies and I can watch movies over and over again. Some people can't. I can.
Me too. Yeah.
So the catalog that they have, I have a lot of movies, period, but the catalog they have, it's always fun to go back and watch something like The Great Outdoors or Curly Sue.
The Great Outdoors.
Tango
Curly
and Cash.
Curly Sue.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
It's fun that it's fun and good that they have that kind of catalog and they freshen it up, and put new offerings out there.
It's a good call, actually. I never thought about that. And they do. Every time I go there, I'm like, I haven't seen that movie in a while. And I loved that movie when I was younger, and I'll catch it again. It's great. My only concern, I think, with Disney Plus that I've seen is that it has this great back catalog. But right now, since they just started and we don't have a way to film anything, they don't really have much in the works for original content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you say that, but they surprise drop Frozen 2 and Onward, and there's some talks that some of the shows they had slated for the rest of the year may get snuck into a release schedule here soon as well.
Ooh,
so
let's hope so.
Yeah,
that would be great if they actually pushed it up like that. So
but the downfall is thinking Mandalorian might get pushed to next year rather than fall.
Yeah. Seems likely at this point.
I mean, that's the main thing that I'm looking forward to out of the whole Disney Plus line.
I'm on pretty much all the streaming services because I the whole FOMO thing. I don't want to miss out on whatever the next thing is, and I'm willing to pay for that. But the problem for me is we are at the saturation point. I feel like we're already like 2 streaming services past that. Like CBS All Access is going to be the first thing I get rid of. Because I love the Star Trek shows, but I'm paying $6-7 a month for one show. Like that's not a thing. I would rather see CBS, NBC. The Peacock is coming, and they're talking about bringing back Quantum Leap and a couple of other shows, maybe even The Office at some point. That's great, but you're gonna have to deliver me more content. I would rather see those companies work with Netflix, work with Amazon, and I would be willing to pay a little bit more for those services. But by the time I start spending $100 a month plus cable, we're gonna have some issues.
Yeah, cutting the cord becomes, it's not worth it anymore. You're back to paying what you would pay for 100 channels on cable or satellite or whatever. I mean, it's getting to that point. If every single network or outlet is going to have its own streaming service, and they're going to start fighting amongst themselves or keep fighting amongst themselves, it's going to get to that point. A lot of people cut, we actually use YouTube TV, but a lot of people cut cords so that they didn't have to pay for 200 channels, of which they only watch maybe 20 or 30 channels. Yeah. It's getting to that point.
Well, and even that, I mean, you've got all the subscription services, and we even had an episode on all of this, but with all those subscription services, then you've got to have your internet plan be fully up to date to where you can run some of these streaming services in your HD. I mean, without that, then what's even the point?
Yep. And even then, what they call HD is still not as good as a Blu-ray or a 4K disc. Like, there are times where if I fire up a Marvel movie on Disney Plus, it looks pretty good. But I own the Blu-ray. I would rather get the Blu-ray out and watch that for the full picture, the full sound.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I still do that.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Yeah. I'm always going to have physical media for at least some of those big tentpole movies or movies that I love, I think.
Yep.
Geez, I don't know what I'm going to do with the 6 copies of Back to the Future I've got, but...
On Laserdisc.
In about 20...
Dude, I've got
Time capsule.
VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. I've got them all, man.
Hey, cassettes and LPs are coming back, so hold on to those 20, 30 years down the road. They're going to be very valuable.
You could 3D print you a flux capacitor and turn it into a time capsule. Put some hinges on there, some rubber gaskets, throw all the movies in there, and seal that baby.
That's a good idea.
GB Reviews, they've got a 3D printer, and I almost wrote them and say, could I commission a flux capacitor off you? But I'm holding back for right now. I'm holding back.
Angus Maximus has one.
Does he?
Yeah, he printed me this little Deadpool thing.
Nicely done.
Awesome?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, that's neat. Well, shoot. Maybe I'll have to put a word into him.
I think if you use offer code NerdFu, I think you get 10% off.
That'll also get you 10% off MeUndies, subscription to Audible.com, Stamps.com.
Stamps.com, for
sure. All of those. None of that is true at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to save on postage.
Print it at home.
You do. Yeah, print them at home, exactly. Anyways, is there anything else that has happened since you guys had last broadcast that you've really been into? Something new and exciting? Maybe a movie, series, games, anything, comics and books?
I just started playing Kingdom Hearts 3 finally.
Oh, nice.
Snagged it on Game Pass, and I'm about three-quarters of the way through. Loving it.
So you played 1 hour of gaming, and the rest has been cutscenes.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't.
Yeah, I love the cutscenes. I'm
the same way. I'll sit and watch every cutscene because it's like you're playing a movie. It's fantastic. I don't know why you're shaking your head.
I'm mashing that damn X button.
There's a story behind it. People worked for hours on hours on hours to make us enjoy the story.
Give me a movie.
Yeah,
go watch a movie.
But you're controlling this movie, man.
Nah, I want to shoot stuff, man.
I love the game. What else have I been watching? Just catching up on different shows here and there when there's time. Sully's always been more of the TV person.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm more of the movies. And then my fiance, she watches a lot of the shows too, like Ozarks and Outsider, stuff like that. The Chef Show. We just started watching the Chef Show again. That's something I can watch, nonstop.
The movie that came before that was Chef's Kiss. Mwah, beautiful.
Perfect.
Nice.
I loved it.
Yeah. I have the soundtrack on my Spotify too.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I would have loved to have tried one of those Cuban sandwiches. That's one of my favorite foods is a Cuban sandwich, a good, perfectly made Cuban sandwich. And watching that show and being in San Diego, there's no Cuban places out here. So
Really?
every time I go back to Florida, I load up.
Interesting.
I don't want to hear you complain about your lack of food in the great state of California. Right. You and the Texans have it made. This Washington business is a joke. I'm down to 150 pounds. I've wasted away, and I wish. Food is garbage up here.
Yeah,
that's stupid fresh air.
Well, yeah, I do have that.
You don't have all that fine Canadian food up there from the border? No?
Nope. Got to go 2 hours north for that poutine and the beaver tails and all that good stuff.
Oh, well,
sorry.
Right. Sorry about that, indeed.
How are you now?
Good, yeah?
Not so bad.
I stopped Murray.
Right. That's the only Canadian I know.
Well, no, not bad. So I thought that since today is Easter and all, but when we're recording this, at least I don't know when people are listening to this, we thought we would talk about Easter eggs in film and kind of what our favorite Easter eggs are, since a lot of people are doing that right now online if you're watching that. But I think it'd be fun for us to dive into maybe some of our favorite films that we know what the Easter eggs are. Maybe there's some that people don't know what they are. And for those of you at home who do not know what an Easter egg is, it is something that is hidden in a film that a director had put there to be a reference usually to something else, usually another film or something that's kind of like a wink and nod to the audience. So I don't know. Is there any ones that you guys know of or love in movies?
It's so funny. Actually, I have one of those Alexa shows, I think it is, and they have those rotating stories. And one today from IMDb was some of the best Easter eggs in movies. And the first one that always comes to mind for me is I think it's in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh my goodness!
Where he goes down into the pit, and one of the pillars on the side that has all the hieroglyphics and writing on the wall. You can see a C-3PO and an R2-D2 clearly carved in one of the pillars. And of course, never saw that when I watched the movies. When I watched them, you couldn't make out enough detail to make that out anyway. But now that we have HD, people are finding stuff like that, and I think that's a great nod.
You got to get a better VHS tape, man.
Yeah, upgrade your VHS.
Beta.
Seriously.
And
just clean the heads, bro. Clean the heads.
What's really unique about this nowadays is like when I was growing up, I think probably all of us, like we didn't have the internet to talk about these things. So we didn't really know much about it. Maybe sometimes we'll find something, hey, wait, that looks like something. But nowadays, and I don't think kids these days even understand this, like we just didn't have the communities that we had. Me being a nerd growing up, like I didn't know anybody that really knew this stuff. There's maybe a handful of my friends, but I couldn't talk about this stuff with anybody. So now it's kind of nice to have a community online that can find these things all the time and have HD quality, like you said, HD quality video. So I think there's a lot more that we're finding that we didn't know about until recently.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and it helps for you too with your bifocals. You can
Right.
really see them deeps, the deep stuff. Hey, Steve, do you got a Easter egg? There you go. He's got his bifocal.
Had to do it. Steve, yes, go ahead.
I thought he was about to read a passage out of a book.
We are gathered here today.
For me, I think Guardians of the Galaxy, when we first see the Collector, I mean, there's so many. There's not hundreds, but there's just so many just in the introduction of the Collector. That was a lot of fun from the Cocoon to the other aliens that we saw from Avengers. It was just really cool.
Howard the Duck.
Slither.
Yeah.
Howard the Duck too. Yeah, that's
Howard
so
the Duck.
fun.
Yeah.
James Gunn just came forward again in the last week or 2 weeks and said that there is still one major Easter egg that no one has found. Yep.
Again?
Yep.
You know that there's someone out there watching those movies frame by frame by frame, just
Who
trying
would
to
be
find
really weird enough to do that?
Let's ask our listeners.
Yeah, just me, because I'm a weirdo like that. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had said that. So I guess I'm gonna have to watch that movie yet again.
He's been saying it for years, and he keeps throwing this gauntlet down. Pardon the pun. And no one's figured it out yet.
It's got to be something that's just like, and I want to say almost too obvious or something. Like maybe you're not even thinking to look at it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's the only way I can think of. But I love that. I love finding stuff now. Like when I was a kid, I had no idea that filmmakers were doing this. So some of the ones I know that are probably more famous, like the one I'll go with because it's one of my favorite movies, is The Shining. And The Shining is a little different because it's more of a conspiracy theory than just Easter eggs. Because there's a conspiracy theory that that he had put in the movie little hints that Kubrick had faked the moon landing for everybody, like he was hired by the government to do that. So everyone's like, oh my God, that must mean that he, did that because, Danny Torrance wears an Apollo shirt. There's a whole bunch of different other meanings in there too. There's documentaries about it, so I'll let people look at that. But is there anything else from you guys from maybe your favorite films that that maybe people don't know about? Anybody, that's for anybody.
I mean, Ready Player One seems like too obvious a choice, but there's like 8 million Easter eggs in that one. Every time I watch it, I think I pick up on some new ones.
Pretty much all it is, right? It's one big Easter egg factory.
It really is.
I really wish for Ready Player One they would have went with the 1990s Ninja Turtles for their Easter egg instead of the 2016 goofball looking alien things that they put in there.
I thought that was Battletoads they got.
No, Battletoads is in there, but they also have the Ninja Turtles from God, what's his name?
Michael
Who made those new ones? No, the new Ninja Turtles. Who made those?
Oh, Nickelodeon owns it now.
Right. I was meaning the guy who made Transformers.
You're talking about Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I said that. That's okay.
My headphones don't work too well, I guess.
Okay.
Sure, that's
the Michael Bay Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Also, points for progress.
Points. Nice.
First points given out, and now I'm gonna lose terribly as I always do.
It was fun. It was funny that you brought up Spielberg and putting R2-D2 and C-3PO because even in E.T. he put Yoda in E.T.
Yep. There's a R2 unit in Close Encounters. They're the E.T. extraterrestrials in episode 1.
Oh, that's right, in 1.
Yeah, they go back and forth with that all the time. Like every movie, they reference the other one's work somehow, some way.
Right. It's always great to see when two super famous directors do stuff like that, especially when they're like best friends. Like these guys are obviously best friends that they want to do stuff like that, and it's just really great to see.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
What about you, Alex? Anything else from you for stuff?
I kind of named mine. That was the one that I was thinking of, and I was thinking of the one that Sully just announced. So I'm like, well, and here's the thing: is like one of the fun ones that's always really neat to go back and see is like throughout Pixar movies.
Oh yeah.
Like if you look at like the background of Pixar movies, you'll always see, like for instance, you watch Toy Story, you'll see a movie not a movie poster, but a poster for Cars in the background.
Right.
Or
Shared universe.
Sully is holding little Nemo. Whenever he's collecting all the toys, he picks up a little Nemo toy. It's little things like that that's really neat to see. And I love that it's just one giant shared universe, and it brings it all together somehow by this one Easter egg that you really kind of got to be looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, probably my favorite is the one in Toy Story in Sid's house because his carpet is from The Shining. It's a lot of fun.
I like the toy or the toolbox that says Bimford on the outside.
Yep.
Reference to Tim Allen.
6100.
Yeah, I love it. Yep, that too. Yeah.
Oh, it's a 6100.
I'm always amazed when I catch those on a first viewing because I try to focus on the story and the development of that story, but occasionally your eye is just drawn to things, and then once you see that, you kind of like have that moment, you realize you missed something else. Like, so I try to do that on like the second or third viewing, but sometimes it's just too obvious,
Oh, of course. Like, I feel like the Toyota, the Pizza Planet truck, you will always see like that just in the background somewhere.
Yeah.
That's always really cool. Or like, for instance, the Rapunzel from Tangled was in Frozen.
Yeah.
Just little things like that is just really neat to see. And by the way, Trevor is here too. Trevor, do you have any Easter eggs?
I'm letting you guys go, man. I usually have to do all the heavy lifting. So
he's just like, I
this
don't want to do this. This is great. I'll take the backseat of this one.
I just wanted to, So for Pixar, the cool thing is they're their own shared universe. But I'm going back since we have Disney Plus. I'm going to see if every single Disney movie from Snow White to the present, all their animated movies are actually somehow in a shared universe. So I'm only up through like, Peter Pan time. So but there's somebody you can find. It's amazing already the connections you can find.
Really? That's
nice.
They've been doing it for a while, other than just the Mickey heads that appear in the movies, huh?
Right.
Yeah. It's like some of them are even unintentional, or maybe I'm grasping at straws, but who knows?
But yeah, who knows? I mean,
future podcast idea.
Yeah, there you go.
Disney is that they also reuse a lot of animation cells, so you might see the same kind of outline too in different films.
Especially in the 80s and 90s, yeah.
Yeah, there's great YouTube videos out there where they actually show, like, for instance, scenes from Snow White, like a dancing scene where everybody, we're just making a dress, la 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 la. And then they have almost the same exact sequence happen in Robin Hood. Yep. Which is really neat, where they just reused a bunch of animation, just changed out the head and like the hands or something like that. Yeah. It's fascinating.
You should be anything. You should be efficient.
Yeah, you should.
There you go. Well, hey, if you're going to become a monopoly, you might as well.
Jeez, right.
Yeah, but you go back to the mid-90s, and they were near bankruptcy.
Well, that's where Who Framed Roger Rabbit, why Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny is in the same scene together.
Yeah.
Like, you'll never see
that wouldn't happen now,
No.
Well, you never know, actually.
Until Disney buys Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, they're buying Warner Brothers soon.
Apple buys the world.
Apple buys the world.
We're all going to be working for the mouse one day.
What about you, Steve? Steve, do you have any Easter egg in films that you've ever known?
Other than, well, I mean, there's a lot, but I think the Guardians of the Galaxy just stuck out for sure. Just because there were so many, and like Sully was talking about Ready Player One, that's always fun to go back. I do like reading. It's kind of Easter eggish, I guess, but I do like going back and reading some of the stuff, especially like Stephen King. So if you watch The Dark Tower, the new one where they're in the woods and you see the Pennywise, all that stuff. So I'll take it a step further and actually start reading more about it. I've only read so many Stephen King books, but just going through, you take an Easter egg and then you just start dialing in on the details and doing the research and stuff like that. And you never know what you're going to come across. So Wizard of Oz reference and The Stand was pretty crazy. I don't know if y'all, stuff like that.
Yeah, Stephen King kind of started that whole trend of shared universes when he wrote the Dark Tower series. I'm a huge fan of the Dark Tower series, so the movie is not one of my favorites because it strays too far from the path of the beam of the story. But yeah, he kind of did that. It was like, even as far back as you said, The Stand, he does this all the time. And it's really neat. So if you guys haven't watched, watch a lot of the Stephen King stuff and kind of pay attention to what's going on in those films. And if you have a chance to read the book, also do the same thing, because some characters do show up in different novels and you might not even realize it.
Apparently there are a bunch of references to other Stephen King movies in Castle Rock, the series, as well.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the whole idea of that show is kind of fun in that way.
I just want to see the Green Goblin 18-wheeler again. Bring that out.
Maximum Overdrive.
Yes.
The only film that Stephen King directed.
Yeah,
and that's a good reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that was garbage. But and just I know that we were all just kind of going over movies and TV shows there, but even like video games like to hint at other video games, which is always fun. And one that's just sticking out in my head was, I believe it was Assassin's Creed 2, where you go up to, I believe it's like your uncle or something like that in the video game, and his name is Mario, and he talks just like Mario, and he's a pudgy guy. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that you can come across a plumber named Mario in Assassin's Creed 2.
That's great.
Yeah, the only one I can think of off the top of my head is in Fortnite. They have a poster of my favorite map from Unreal Tournament. There was a map that happens in space that's like hovering in space, and it was like one of my favorite ones. He played Capture the Flag on. That was kind of neat.
Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah. So that was a good call talking about video games there, sir.
Yeah, I figured why not add a little bit of video games in there.
Definitely. And Trevor, were you gonna say something, Trevor?
Well, just going back to the Marvel idea, and we know like they're the big shared universe idea. Yeah. But one Easter egg they have that I don't see that many people talk about is in Winter Soldier, Nick Fury, fakes his death, and on his tombstone it says "The Path of the Righteous Man." Yeah. And that's the whole Jules Pulp Fiction reference, and just to have a Marvel movie reference a movie that wouldn't fit in the Marvel idea at all.
Right. That's kind of cool. Okay, so you got the Pulp Fiction meeting the world of it's like his universe, his actor universe.
God, and he's been in like 7,000 movies at this point. So,
yeah.
If you combined all Samuel L. Jackson movies, I think he's in every movie.
I think he is. I think he's
somehow related to it.
What's his net worth?
Yeah, the Quentin Tarantino thread's fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of fall through a lot. Now, one thing I did see today that really interested me was that in the movie Pulp Fiction, oh God, now I'm going to forget characters' names. Uma Thurman's character, she's talking about the movie that she was in. Right. So she was talking about the movie that she was in when they were eating the burger at the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And people are saying that it directly references the storyline of Kill Bill. So they're saying that she is actually the actress playing the bride, not Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman's playing a character.
Oh,
nice.
Wrap your head around that one.
Like that.
Well, if you listen to it, it is.
There's a big rumor that the Tarantino's 10th film will be Kill Bill 3. Maybe he'll bring that full circle.
That'd be interesting.
I hope so, man, because I love those Kill Bill movies. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of Tarantino, we were in Pulp Fiction. As I was doing a little bit of research for this episode on Easter eggs, I believe it was From Dusk Till Dawn. You can go to, or they go to Big Kahuna Burger.
Yep.
Which is a nod to Pulp Fiction. So that was pretty neat to see.
And Red Apple cigarettes shows up in a lot of.
Yeah, good call. The Red Apple cigarette, the fake cigarette company came up with for his films. That was kind of neat. Well, very nice. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to bring up or talk about that's happening in your lives, but I think that's about it for the show. I will say this was fantastic to have you guys on with us, talking to you guys and hear you guys again. For the people listening at home, where can they find you guys online these days?
Sully may be online every once in a while.
Maybe. It's hard to catch them though.
So what are you doing these days?
I don't like to have a free minute. Apparently, I stay plenty busy. I've been doing a lot of game streaming the last couple weeks on Mixer. I'm a McCracken5 there, which is my gamer tag. CS Sully on Twitter because somebody grabbed up Sully a long time ago. And I spend most time on those two channels. And I just launched a new podcast with my brother called Movie Retakes. We've got our first episode is out now where we cover Bill and Ted. And then we've got another one coming soon. We'll be dropping several episodes over the next couple of weeks. So
nice.
Check that out if you get a chance.
Sweet.
Retakes,
on Twitter, I'm at Original Scuba. I think I started my Twitter account the night before we went to Comic-Con for the first.
Wow.
Dang. So 2012.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to catch me, I'm there. I do most of my tweeting and stuff like that. Just about what's going on, something I'm playing, something I'm watching. I fell into the Lego Death Trap here recently.
Oh,
Finally completing Voltron that I got 2 years
heck
ago
yeah.
when it came
Nice.
out, and I'm glad I actually got it because they stopped making it, which was good.
Okay.
I think you can still find it every once in a while at Barnes and Noble. And now I am building the 1989 Batmobile.
I saw that. Yeah, that's exciting.
So yeah, it's good. It's a good kind of zone out meditation activity. It's really cool. And then of course, then my neck is killing me because I'm looking down the entire time. So
it's funny. I actually built one like not too long ago. I don't know, I forget what it was, but it was like a big structure, and I couldn't believe like my hands were like killing me because you're snapping those over and over again. Like as a kid, I don't remember having that issue. Maybe it's because I'm old.
That's probably it.
Maybe.
Well, and for you guys, like Voltron, combined, bring you guys together on Twitter, brings NerdFu, which is at the NerdFu. So make sure you guys follow them because they are both very active on there as well. And it's always good stuff. I always enjoy the articles, everything that you guys do on there as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool. And for us, if you like what you're listening to right now, check us over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, all at Secondary Heroes. For fun pop culture news, pretty much like NerdFu, episode drops and secondary interactions with you, our fans. And if you haven't already, please rate and review our podcast over on iTunes, Spotify, all of those. We're on everything, man. Anywhere where you listen to podcasts, that's where we are at. So please rate, review us, let us know how we're doing, send us questions. We'd love to answer them as well. Because honestly, all this is free for you, and it's priceless to us.
And then be sure to check us every Thursday. We're doing a new secondary artist alley. We have various artist friends, and we're going to expand upon that, where we're going to be streaming live for about 3 hours with live requests by you that are sketched in real time by artists. You could potentially win them. And it's just fun seeing art come to, all these cons are in a nebulous state right now. So to get attention to artists is definitely what we're trying to do.
Yeah, those streams have been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed those.
Yeah. Artist Alley, man. Got to get them artists out there.
So to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next time.
Frog out.
Later.
Unite.
I don't have a clickbait because this has been a wonderful episode and we don't need clickbait.
Oh.
Follow us.
All right, guys. Have a good night.